everybody, it's Sally from Sally Stampers. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm bringing you this really cute Christmas card. Now, last year we were introduced to the beautiful Christmas pines, and obviously we had the framelets, Pretty Pines framelets. There was a whole suite and I loved it. It was one of my favourites. I was so pleased that obviously they carried the stamp and the framelets, or are they thinlets? Bear with me a second and I'll grab them. They are thinlets, Pretty Pine thinlets. They're just fabulous. Obviously they can cut out the pine cones and the leaves and everything. They are fabulous and I love them, but I was really disappointed because obviously the DSP doesn't get carried over. And the card I made last year, and I've actually got my tablet and found, I actually took a picture off my laptop screen because that's where I uploaded and saved all my photos to, and I'm hoping that it doesn't mess it up too much, but that was the card I made last year. Very similar, as you can see. It's got the doily and the bit of ribbon, but obviously it's got the DSP on there, whereas obviously we don't have that anymore. Excuse me. So I thought, well, I'll just make my own DSP and I'll try and recreate that card, but maybe obviously with something a little bit different, because I can't really copy the same card. It's pointless, isn't it? And I was just sort of playing around and I thought, well, okay, I'll make my own DSP. And I knew obviously I wanted to do the pine leaves here, pine boughs. And again, I was playing around with colours, and then I thought, well, why not try? Because I think last year we had Emerald Envy that I used, and Mint Macaron. Obviously we still have Emerald Envy, but we don't have any ribbon that goes with it. Sorry, I tell a fib, we have the striped one, but I just didn't think the striped would work so well. And obviously we don't have Mint Macaron, as that was an in colour that retired, so I thought, well, why not use the current in colours? So I used Tranquil Tide and Lemon Lime Twist, and I'm really pleased with the outcome. I think this looks great. It has a great effect, and so I simply did a one sheet wonder. So I got a sheet of A4 Whisper White cardstock, and I just stamped, just sort of put them like that. You can see I just stamped the pine boughs all over my sheet, and then I just filled it in with large and small pine cones, which were stamped in crumb cake and soft suede. So I did crumb cake as the base, and then I just went over the top to do these little bits with soft suede. And like I said, I think they've come out really well. And then obviously I added my doily, as I did last time, some of the lovely Tranquil Tide, I want to say classic weave, and I don't know if it is, finely woven ribbon, some of our beautiful red glimmer paper, and then obviously I've just used my layering circles to cut that and the sentiment out, and it's quite simple. I am going to make you laugh because I know that people like it when I do ditzy things, and I was purely ditzy when I did this. I'm still blaming it on my cold, mind you. When I stamped inside, I thought, because obviously the dark green, it's a bit too dark to write your messages on, so obviously you need to put a layer of white inside. So I thought, well, I know, like with most of my cards that I layer, when I do the inside, I like to put something in the bottom corner. So I stamped this one, and I thought, yeah, that looks lovely. And then when I did the second one, I thought, well, that's a bit silly because they hang down, not go up. But even though I do quite like this, because it's at the bottom, I think it looks a bit silly, and I think this looks better when it's at the top. I don't know, that's just my choice, but anyway, let's get on and show you how to do this. So like I said, I've stamped up my one sheet wonder. I'm not going to go through how I did all of this because it's going to take me ages and you will get very bored. Suffice to say that I stamped with Tranquil Tide, and then my Lemon Lime Twist I went over the top with. So this one's Tranquil Tide, this one's Lemon Lime Twist, and I literally stamped off to the left and then off to the right just to get those extra throngs coming out at the side. And then obviously I just cut this up as I would for my normal layers. If you've got any bits that you've bodged, like this one that didn't line up at all, I'm hoping you can see, yeah, I didn't line that up very well at all, use that as your offcut piece. So obviously I don't need that because it's excess, and that's gone in the bin and it's cut off the bodged bit. There's another one here, but I'm not too concerned about that because I'm hoping that that is going to disappear under a doily or something like that, so I can just spin it and maybe hide it. So those of you that aren't sure, my cards I make, and I haven't got my base out, so that's very silly. The cards that I make are a UK A4 size, and dependent on which way you want them to open, obviously this is your book fold, and to open that way is a tent fold. Now most of my cards I do tend to make tent fold, but if they're Christmas cards that I'm going to be giving away, I do think people have a natural way of opening a card that way, so I do make them that way. So if you're doing a book fold card, and this is how I do mine, so I have my full sheet of A4 with tranquil tide here, and I'm going to score it at 10.5 centimetres, so I'm scoring down the long at 10.5, rotate, and then I'm going to cut at 14.9 centimetres. Now if I wanted to do a tent fold, I'd do it the other way round. I'd score at that and cut at that. I hope that makes sense. I'm not going to make both of these cards, I'll just put that to one side so we have it. So there's my base, and then obviously I have my one sheet wonder that's been cut down to size. So I'm just going to pop some snail on it. And I just love these one sheet wonders because obviously you can get 4 cards out of, not very happy with that, 4 cards out of one sheet of A4. Or if you wanted to, you could cut your A4 in half and use half for the front and half for the inside, so you'd get 2 full cards out of it, unless you're using a light inside piece. But I just think they're great fun because you can tailor them to whatever you want. As I say, I didn't have the DSP for this, so I thought it'd be perfect to make my own. So next up then is the delicate white doilies, which I think are super cute. That's going to go in the middle, and I'm just literally going to pop some snail just in a little cross, and then just pop it central up a little bit, I suppose. And then I've got my tranquil tide finely woven ribbon. There's so many ribbons, I forget the names of them all, honestly. I know the colours, I just forget what the blend is, I suppose. So just give that a little trim. So as you see, I just made sure that was going to fit just nicely across there. So just going to get some of my tear and tape, which I tend to cut and tape. And then just pop a little bit on my ribbon. Excuse me, my silly cold has now left me with an annoying cough, which I'm hoping is going to go soon, but obviously as soon as I start to get warm, that's when it starts to cause me problems. So my layering circle framelets, so I've picked out the 2 sizes that I need, which are the largest down here and the second largest up there. The largest is going to go on my glimmer paper, the smallest is for my sentiment. So I've gone with the one I used last year. I did have a play around with using this Noel, but to be honest I didn't like it. In fact, I'm going to dig in my bin and show you what I did with it. There's 1, there's 2. Look at me rooting around in my bin to show you how I didn't like how I did. Thankfully my bin's not very full. Oh, I can't find the, oh there it is. So I tried to work with just the tranquil tide, but I didn't think that it was just too dark. So then I tried with cherry cobbler, but then I thought no, and then ultimately I went with that and I thought, oh no, that's just too much. So no, they went in the bin and I went back to my original sentiment that I used last year, which was this one. Tidings of Comfort and Joy. Oops. So just pop that on my D-block, and then grab my tranquil tide, and then just give that a scrub off. And then, as I said, I'm going to just move that out of the way because I want to bring in my big shot, which is getting a bit mucky again. Oops, sorry, just bashed the tripod there. So, as you can see, I've been doing lots of die cutting on this recently because my pad is well and truly loved, as the saying goes. So I'm going to be cheeky today and I'm going to do both of these in one go just because I can and because it's easier. So largest on my glimmer paper, and then the smallest just goes around my sentiment, and it does just fit quite nicely without too much trouble. Pop a sandwich on the top and run it through, and then there's my sentiment and there's my glimmer. Let's get that out of the way. And then I simply added some fuse to this, just because there's obviously, with this being glimmer paper, it can be a little bit rough, and I think that sometimes snail just doesn't grip it enough, so I like to use my fuse. Just seems to give it that added bit of adhering, give it a good press. And I actually use tear and tape on the back of this as well. Now, I think it's the foil sheets that tend to have the problem. I was using some of the, I think it was the copper foil paper the other day, and it just wouldn't stick. The glue just wouldn't stay. As I was rolling it along, it just kept, nothing was coming out, and I thought, well, this is silly. It is just because of the texture on the back of the foil sheets, but I just tend to use tear and tape now because it actually just is a lot easier, and at least I know it'll stick. So just a couple of pieces there to put that one in place, and then just simply pop it, and making sure you're central to your doily, and just stick it on. And then obviously we just need to do our stamping on inside. So are we doing top or bottom? That's the question. I think I'm going to go with top because I do think it looks a lot better. So I'm just going to put my sentiment away, and that's the one I want off first. Because I'm only using a small portion of it, I'm just going to stick it onto my D block because, as I say, I don't need all of it. So I'm going to grab my Tranquil Tide and just simply put some in that top corner. Just clean that one off. Get rid of my Tranquil Tide. Grab my lemon lime. Ouch, banged my elbow. Put this one away. And then I want this other one here, which is the one that just adds that little bit. So slightly off to the left, slightly off to the right. Give that one a scrub, put that ink away. Excuse me. And then we just need to do these beautiful pine cones. I'm having a moment though then. So with the pine cones, you can either do small or large. As you can see, there's two parts to each one, so two large and the two small ones. I think I stuck with the small one, so I'm going to use the complete image to start with, and crumb cake. Whoops. And just pop it there. You can always do, you know, as many as you want really. There's no limit. So pop that one away and then get the one that's not the complete image. I know that sounds a bit random. You'll see what I mean. And this is going to be a bit difficult for me to do in the camera, but you basically now need to line this up. Now, it is quite difficult. The only way I can give you any tips is excuse me, is to try and look for a spot. So for example, I'm going to look at that spot and line the tip of the cone up, and then you can sort of see underneath the pattern, and obviously got some glimmer paper stuck to it now, and then sorry, you can obviously see now that you get that two-tone sort of darker tips, and it's lined up, and like I say, you just sort of have to find a spot and line it up. You see that one's not perfect, it's slightly over here, but I don't mind, because I don't think that looks too bad, and I don't think people are going to be looking at the stamped images, are they? They're going to be reading the message anyway. And that's it for that one. Like I said, there is so much more to this stamp set. As you can see, there are lots of other sentiments, and I just think they're lovely. Right, move that out of the way. Let's put this on the inside. I don't quite know how that's got stuck in there, but anyway, it won't be seen underneath my card. And then I just line it up, stick it on, and then obviously with my bone folder just reinforce that crease, and there's my lovely card. So I'm really happy with those, and I think they would look lovely going out to somebody at Christmas. I hope you've enjoyed this. All the products that I have used are available in the current catalogues. If you want to hop along to the shop, there is a link below. Just click on the description, down arrow, and it opens it up, and there is a link to my store. Likewise, all the information that you need will be on my blog. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!